welcome to 50 Movies in 50 Weeks. I'm your host, Joey Hollywood, and I'm trying to get through all 50 movies in this Mill Creek box set in 50 weeks. The movie I watched today was called Maniac, which I have the riff tracks of right here, and I usually say the date. What is the date on here? From 2010. So from 1934. This is a movie I've seen plenty of times. I've seen it with riff tracks commentary. I've seen it without. It's a movie that's always fascinated me. Actually, I usually take notes when I make these videos, and I didn't take any notes on this one because I'm decently familiar with it. It's been a mild fascination for many years. It's a pre-code horror movie, so it gets away with a lot more. There's some pretty graphic scenes, which I'll go into in a little bit. And then there's also some very slight nudity, which is very risque for like a black and white movie. You don't really see that. I think there's actually a line in the riff tracks where they say, I didn't know a nudity was invented yet in the 30s or something like that. Yeah, going on to say that it is pretty graphic for an older film. There is a scene where they pop out a cat's eyeball, and our main, or I guess he would be our main character, he eats it. And it's very clear on the wide shot, it's probably like a grape or something. But the actual scene of it happening is pretty grotesque for the time. I don't know if I don't know how they did it back then. I hope they really didn't pop out a cat's eye. I don't think they did. But it's very odd how it feels like a 1930s horror movie, but there's these little moments that are just a little like, whoa. It kind of reminds me of that one movie we watched, I think it was either last year or the year before, where it was like this Little Rascals type adventure, but it was intercut with the story of resurrecting a dog, and the footage of them resurrecting the dog was real. I know that's a different thing entirely, but those moments are just as jarring as the more violent, or say the nudity in this one. If that makes any sense at all. It makes sense in here. I don't know if it makes sense coming out. Without further ado, let's talk about the plot of this movie. It is a mad scientist version of Edgar Allan Poe's The Black Cat. It has all the story beats that you would have to do it has all the story beats to make it a bare bones remake of that story. What it has instead of the material that fleshes that story out is it has a mad scientist story plot, and it also has this guy who is like a method actor, and he gets so into a role that he thinks he's the mad scientist he killed. So the mad scientist dies really early on in the movie, and he's replaced by this crazy actor, and the whole movie is trying to cause awareness for mental diseases. I think specifically schizophrenia. It mentions it in the movie. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it mentions it in the movie, and it like goes into the psychosis and like what happens. It almost feels like Reefer Madness in a way, where it's giving you all this information about and all the information's wrong, and it's very odd. And the fact that it's a retelling of The Black Cat just adds to the oddity that is this movie. I would highly recommend this one. And here's the great thing about it. Not only is it a quality riff tracks, but it's also very short. So even if you don't like it, you're not investing too much time into it. And I think the movie's interesting enough. Like especially this year, I've been saying like, oh, you could throw the movie on while you draw or clean. This movie, I think it's interesting enough that you could watch it all the way through and not be bored by it, because there's always something strange happening, and no matter which version you watch. Now, this version has the original title card, which has a specialized font for the movie. That's if you watch it without the riff tracks commentary. That version is available on here. The one on this has a different title card. It's like a digital or maybe a video title card, where it has like a still from the movie and the title superimposed in a very modern well, not modern, I would say like maybe 80s or 90s superimposing of the title. I don't know why this change was made. A lot of movies, especially on these box sets, they're copies of copies of copies of copies. So I don't know if it was avoid copyright when it came out in the 30s. I doubt there's any copyright on it. Actually, what am I talking about? I know there's no copyright on this. I looked into it a few years ago because I'm doing something with this movie. I can't say what, but I'm doing something with this movie. And yeah, so I really like this one. I think it's interesting. It's one of my favorite bad movies, especially from this time period. I think I have like every decade I have a favorite like bad movie, and this one I think of the 30s. I think this is one of the ones that floats to the top. Well, that's it for now. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next week. Remember, please be kind and rewind.